What's up, guys? Here I am at the park, and that's my Yukon in the back. It's material things, because I like material things, and I manifest material things because I visualize my life. So yesterday I spoke about going to the park during my lunch breaks and how I'd sit down and I'd write out my goals and visualizations. I would do Tai Chi and Qi Gong. I'd eat my lunch and plot for my future while sitting on that park bench back in 2004. So anyway, I figured it'd be cool since I was driving past the park today to do my video in the park. In fact, my video yesterday reminded me of so much love that I harbored for this park that I decided maybe I'll come back today, and maybe I'll come back here more often. I'd sit at this bench, eat my lunch, write out my goals, visualize, and then what I would do is I'd get up. There was always a shady spot right there by that hill, and I would do my breathing exercises. I'd do my Tai Chi. Spent a lot of hot summer afternoons, some beautiful ones like here today at this park. So anyway, today's video, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to kind of bring us up to date. Yesterday we spoke about how to set up your schedule during your warrior mode, crush it phase of your life. And that time could show up anytime. You could be a warrior mode at any time in your life. It doesn't have to mean when you're young. It doesn't have to mean when you're struggling. It could mean when you're trying to build anything in your life. So I gave you my schedule of activities, and that's why I mentioned this part. But today, instead, what I'd like to talk about is your choice of how you use your resources, right? Because yesterday we spoke about time. I talked about the time that I would spend at this park here. But the other thing that you got to consider is how you're spending your money. Someone once said to me, if you want to know somebody's core values, their true core values, look at their bank account. Where are they spending their money, right? So when you're in your grind, come up mode, obviously you're not going to have a lot of money to spend. And I know I didn't. And although I made the sacrifice to spend a lot of money on food, as you noticed from yesterday's post, I also cut corners on some things that many of you might find essential, right? So I did cut corners on spending, but I cut it on two major things that drain most dudes' bank accounts. I cut corners on clothes, because I was buying all my clothes back then at the Salvation Army. Whatever clothes I didn't have from New York that I brought down with me in a bag, I bought at the local thrift shops. I would wear thrift store clothes, right? How many of you willing to sacrifice that on your come up? How many of you warriors out there willing to humble yourself to the point where you will buy hand-me-down used clothing? You see, the other thing I did with regard to my clothing was I wore a uniform, meaning I buy a pair of clothes, maybe a couple pairs of the same exact clothes, and I just wear it every freaking day, over and over and over again. That way clothing was never an issue to me. I could focus my time, my energy, and my resources on more important things like my physiology, my health, my mentality, right? So I went cheap on clothing. I also went cheap on cars. A lot of you guys get out there in the world and you start making a few pennies and you throw it at the fucking bank every month for your car payment. Shit, I don't even have a car payment on that one. I saved up my money and paid cash. Because all you need is a drain, a hole in your bucket when you're trying to come up, to drain you of vital energy and resources. And money is energy. Money is your resources. So I always drove used cars. My dad worked in auto body, so in New York, he would come home with what were considered totaled cars, meaning the insurance companies won't pay for them to be fixed because they're considered pretty much trash. So I drove totaled cars. Shit. In fact, I think that's my first car purchase. Up until that point, all my cars were totaled cars. Cars that my dad would patch up a little bit and give to me. You guys that know the story about when I moved down to Florida and the use of my van to build my business, that was a hand-me-down van that my dad patched up and gave me. So you got to understand that spending money on stupid things, don't let me judge it that way today. I'm wearing sunglasses, so I'm acting like a badass. I'm not going to judge it that way. It's not stupid. Clothes and cars ain't stupid, but they're outside of the core. They're outside of what makes you a stronger version of yourself. They're just icing on the cake. There are two things, though, that I always spend more on. There are two things that I would spend extravagantly and lavishly on, and that is, like I mentioned yesterday, food, right? Because it becomes me. The food you eat becomes who you are, right? You got to understand something, that when you put that food in your mouth, it becomes the cells in your body. So you can't go cheap with it. Otherwise, you're building yourself a weak, fragile body. And the other thing I never went cheap on was education. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, and as I mentioned in several videos in the past, I have no problem even going into debt like I did in order to pay mentors, in order to go to courses, in order to buy books, in order to learn everything I need to learn from coaches and teachers and mentors in order to become the strongest version of myself. So today, I flash a little bit. I make sure my car is detailed. I don't wear hand-me-down clothes. But the road towards success requires tremendous sacrifice. Make sure you're not sacrificing the important things for the bullshit. Done.